in front of the speakers and the screen. Hallelujah. Jimmy on the microphone, just like the Lord intended. This is Jimmy Lakey. Hey. Unleashed, unfiltered, unfiltered. There's the things you're afraid to say. This is the day the Lord has made from the house of Lakey. And the Lakey Entertainment Towers be proclaimed. Streamcast, podcast, broadcast, information, entertainment in Jesus' name. Oh, yeah. From the house of Lakey to the ends of the earth, you are tuned in to Jimmy Lakey. Unleashed. Oh, this is Jimmy Lakey. Yeah. Unfilled. Unafraid says the things you're afraid to say. This is the day the Lord has made from the house of Lakey.
And the Lakey Entertainment Towers be proclaimed.
Streamcast, podcast, broadcast, information, infotainment in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Oh, man.
Well, amen. Ladies, amen. Brother Leroy throws that in the very end. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, glad to have you here. Lakey behind the microphone. Good to have you here. Glorious day the Lord has made. 26th day of March. Year of our Lord, Thursday morning, year of our Lord 2026. Good to have you here on the program. Big day. A lot of you worried yesterday about old brother R.P. Newman. We have found him, and he's going to be on the show here momentarily, unless he stands me up. We'll give him a little hassle about standing me up earlier this week, but he had a good excuse. They always have a good excuse as to why they did it so rudely and non-caring, but they always have a good excuse. We'll talk to R.P. Newman coming up in just a couple of moments on the show. Also, it's Big Time Thursday. You missed him last Thursday. You're going to get him this Thursday. It's brother Jay Ratliff's going to be on the show, and we'll talk aviation and travel news, including updates on that horrific plane and fire truck collision that happened at LaGuardia this week, and also the story of a new row of seats and sleeper seats in the United Airlines flights. We'll talk about all of that here in the coming moments of the show. Don't miss anywhere. R.P. Newman is going to be on the program in just a second. Let's go through the headlines of what the conversation should be today. The excursion into Iran. How much longer will it happen? Is it about to draw to a conclusion? Well, we will talk about all that with R.P. Newman here in just a moment. I keep want to call it the Iranian war, but President Trump called it an excursion. So I call it the Iranian excursion. Let it always be remembered as the excursion into Iran. We'll talk about that. Also, the government continues to be shut down. Most cases, when I hear government shutdown, I'm okay with it. Unfortunately, I still think, and I'll say this out there, that any politician that has decided that they're going to keep the government shut down, TSA, affecting the airport lines. Why is it that any part of the government can ever shut down if the members of Congress are still getting paid? It's the Congress members that should also suffer when the workers of the government suffer, and all of their little staff members, all of their little lackeys that walk around and go, Mr. Congressman, all of them, none of them get paid. Even the girls or the boys on the staff of the congressman that they're messing around with, diddling with on the side, their affairs that they have. None of them get paid. The mistress, the misters, and the congressman. None of those get paid for the rat bastards that we have in the hallowed halls of Congress that we elect up there. So there's a question. This is why members of Congress oftentimes, for years, so only a few would come on the program maybe because I'll ask them tough questions like, "Hey, the government shut down. Why are you still getting paid, fat ass?" I know you're not supposed to call people fat ass, but in my mind, I just can't help it. I sometimes lose my cool with these members of Congress. So everybody call your member of Congress today and ask, hey, why are you still taking a paycheck? And why are all the staffers that really pretty much are worthless? You call the member of Congress's number. If you get a human, that little staffer's like, we will pass the message on to the congressperson. And they don't. They never let the congressperson know. We will let them know you called about this topic. Thank you for your concern. Shut up, you little punk. You ought to not be paid either because your boss is a jackwagon member of Congress. I'm feeling for these TSA agents. So now we're up to 500 that have quit. And those are just the people that have kind of walked off and said, I'm going. you know there's a heck of a lot more of them, and do you blame them, that have their resumes polished off, blow the dust off, and they're getting ready to, you know there's a heck of a lot more of them out there that are ready to hit the road jack and did not let the door hit them where the good Lord split them and leave these jack wagons behind. By the way, let me give you this quote, then we'll go to RP Newman. You ready for this? He's in the green room, I'm told, waiting on us, and at least he's showing up early this time as opposed to, what happened early this week. Yeah, I know what happened. Yeah, he had a good excuse. We always have good excuses. Good excuses. We know what it is. Here's Hakeem. What is his name? Hakeem Jeffries. What do we call him? Dime store, dollar store Obama. Timu Obama. He wants to be. He's definitely not an Obama. Hakeem Jeffries is on the record once said that if you don't fund the Department of Homeland Security, it is, quote, legislative malpractice. On the 2015 speech on the House floor, Hakeem Jeffries, Timu versions of Obama, said, "We are here to do a single job." We are here to doing a single job, and that should be to fully fund the Department of Homeland Security. Anything less than that is legislative malpractice. So Hakeem Jeffries is committing legislative malpractice, and yet just think, if you think you're stupid, just think there's actually people who voted for Hakeem Jeffries to go to Congress. Just about the time you're taking that test, the bar exam, the medical exam, you're doing it, you're like, I'm not going to pass this thing. You're a student, and you just don't feel smart enough. Just remember, someone actually voted for Hakeem Jeffries in New York. I mean, it's the lowest of the low when that happens. I mean, so just about the time you feel insignificant, insecure, you're standing there in the mirror, and you're like, what happened to my body? I'm a loser now. I don't have the metabolism I used to have. I don't have the six-pack I used to have. Just about the time you think you're as lame as you can get, you're all washed up, just there's somebody out there that actually voted for Hakeem Jeffries in New York. Just letting you know. So use that as a moment of encouragement. This is like me. I'm like Joel Osteen right now. I'm giving you a little encouragement here that it ain't as bad as you think it is. Just when you think it's as bad as it can be, and it's as awful as it can be, I'm telling you, I'm telling you, it's going to be. There's people that voted for Hakeem Jeffries. Just leave it at that and pat yourself on the hiney and say, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me, and I didn't vote for Hakeem Jeffries. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think he voted for Hakeem Jeffries either. I'm doubting he did. His name is RP Newman. RP. A lot of you worried about him this week. I said he was going to come on the program, and poof, he wasn't there. Expert on all the things that he talks about. It doesn't matter if it's talking about gardening. He's an expert. Ladies and gentlemen, RP Newman, author and retired Marine, but he knows all about the combat on the ground because he's been there. And please welcome terrorism expert RP Newman. Welcome, sir. How are you?
First, is this the party to whom I'm speaking?
This is the party to whom you also did not speak earlier this week.
That's correct. Now, point of parliamentary procedure on that. And
the man from Colorado is recognized.
That is from now, Animal House and the famous Inquisition scene. When I was supposed to be talking to you, you also had tasked me with applying turtle wax to your 1963 Corvette split window. Okay. Have you seen the hood on that car alone? It took me 40 minutes for that.
Yeah.
And you won't even let me drive it.
That's true. So what you're basically admitting here is that RP Newman, you have this illustrious career, author, commentator, but in your real life, you're just my lawn boy.
Yeah, you got a problem with that?
No, I just wanted to make sure we're good with that. But you had a good
excuse.
A
problem, I can bring it.
I know you can. You know people. Yeah.
I mean,
I know.
His name is Vinny the Shiv. I'll bring him.
I delegate. I know exactly what happened the other day. I paid you in advance for that hit. I gave you, you put turtle wax up there. You should. I paid you in advance. I gave you your cigar, a Padron 4000, and said this is for coming on the program tomorrow. Yes. And therefore you didn't come. So I paid you in advance. You weren't hungry to come on the show.
Let this be a lesson to you. You don't pay someone like me in advance. What is wrong with you?
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, when people knock on your door, you didn't invite them, after a storm, and they say, hi, we happen to be in your neighborhood and would like to replace your roof. Do you just get out your checkbook and just, oh, yeah, come on up here,
True,
Ahmed? Hey, yeah, climb up that ladder. Can we use your ladder? You didn't bring your own ladder? No. Well, yeah, okay. Let me let you in my garage. Pay no
Yeah.
attention to that gun safe. Yeah.
All right. Well,
So
welcome back. I'm glad
that's what
everything's
happened.
okay. You're very busy, and I'm glad the car looks pretty good though. As you got the wax on it.
Thank you. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
I appreciate that. I do a good job on things like that.
You
Manual
do.
labor is my forte.
I can tell. Those are those
Huh?
are work. Those are working hands. Those are working hands.
Yes. And speaking of
RP.
working hands,
Yes.
one of the things that I do is when I try to, when there are mysteries and things you can't figure out, and there's clues, and I turn to this book. I'm gonna hold this up. Now you can get it, but it's out of print, but you can get it. The Maine Mulch Murder by A. Carmen Clark. A. Carmen Clark, the A stands for Arlie, was one of my English teachers growing up in Maine in the 1960s. And this is a murder mystery. A body is found in a mulch pile in Maine, and I'm reading her book, and she's long gone now. But you read her book because she's a wonderful writer, but also it reminds me in places throughout that particular book to look for little clues and put things together like a puzzle, and that's what we're seeing now in the Iran war. There are many things. I just sent a 10-point missive to Fox News. One of their digital reporters wrote me this morning and said, "Hey, here's some this information you sent earlier. Might want to talk about that." And then I followed up with 10 more points, because there's a lot of questions being asked, Jimmy. You're asking them, and many others are asking them. One of the big questions Iranians are asking, when is this crap going to stop? And where's my Navy? Questions like that. But they have not reached, we as a combat force, we're projecting power forward, and we have not caused them to reach what is known as the culminating point. The culminating point in U.S. military doctrine, warfare doctrine, is the point at which an enemy force can no longer conduct operations. That means they have things have happened to them, and the battle space has been shaped. It's called shaping of the battle space.
Mhm.
Has been shaped in such a way by the good guys, us, that they can no longer fight. They, I hate to say, haven't reached that yet. So, what are we going to do about that?
Yeah, let's talk about what are we going to do about that. By the way, if you're listening to the audio portion of the show on the podcast later, thousands of earballs hear the show. RP Newman, retired military, Marine, ground combat veteran, terrorism, homeland security consultant. On the program, that's the voice that you hear that is so esteemed and knowledgeable. So let's talk. What are we going to do about that? How is it that we've hit these guys with over 10,000 strikes, and somewhere out in the desert somewhere, they're still launching some missiles at their neighbors? Tried to launch one at Diego Garcia. How much more do these guys have? Do we have any clue on that?
The $64,000 question once again is that we don't know. Now, in the world of intelligence collection and analysis, there are a lot of things that are not going to be gotten right the first time out of the gate. That's the nature of the beast. And I know that there were intelligence assessments going into this that said, some said, you know what, this will last about a week. And because we'll attrit their missile and drone forces so rapidly that they simply won't have enough to fire back at us en masse. And they won't be able to have really great, the building what's called target folders and target assessment, actually hitting the target they want to hit. Here's the thing. They've got a lot more than some of those assessments, a lot more ballistic missiles and a lot more one-way kamikaze drones than some intelligence assessments believed. And they can still fire them. Now, yes, CENTCOM yesterday said, you know what? Guess what? U.S. Central Command down in Tampa, MacDill Air Force Base, said, hey, we've hit 10,000 targets. And we've severely damaged them. 90%, we've seen a 90% drop since day one on missile launches. Okay, But look at it another way. And there are people who do this, who get paid for a living to do this at CENTCOM and in other organizations. You go, yes, but how many do they have left? How many can they fire? Can they hit their target? And what will the effect be? And I also add, what can we interdict before they launch? If they wheel them out into an open spot, we can get a look at them with ISR platforms, as intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. And we have all kinds of platforms, from orbiting in space to little tiny drones about this big, scurry around various places, launched by humans on the ground inside Iran. And we gather this information. Intelligence is never perfect. It's never that way. And of course, a lot of times, because of how, comparatively speaking, cortisol compares with dopamine when you have certain emotional reactions, bad and good. Bad in case of cortisol, dopamine is good. And so you have to look at that and say, look, are we winning the war? Yes. Is this war going to be over in the next 24 hours? No, it's not. And that's another one of the points that I sent Fox News this morning, that there were a lot of wrong intelligence assessments that said the revolution, the internal revolution that we saw starting in very late December, that it seemed to start to get off the ground. Then it came crashing back down because the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and MOIS, M-O-I-S, the Ministry of Intelligence Services, and the Basij, which is BASIJ, which is a militia faction inside Iran, are running one of the most hideous, brutal repression and torture campaigns ever to be devised by humans. It's bad.
Wow.
Is it Holocaust bad? No. They haven't murdered 5 to 6 million people yet, but they're working on it. And we can't allow them to get there. The revolution has not come yet. And we were kind of counting on that.
Yeah. So what does that mean? Is revolution coming? I mean, obviously 30 to 50,000 people we know died since January because they wanted to be part of the revolution. And if the revolution, the rising of the streets, doesn't come, does that leave the United States of America putting their own person in charge, which we said we didn't want to have to do?
Well, you frame it around the context of what our stated objectives were by the Trump administration. We had 3 objectives. Absolutely prevent from them ever developing again a nuclear weapons program. That was number 1. Number 2 was to absolutely prevent them from ever raining ballistic missiles or intercontinental ballistic missiles. And we'll go to that in a second, because you mentioned Diego Garcia. Those weren't ICBMs, so we'll talk about that. And number 3, the Iranians, the regime, they would have to be made to, one way or the other, to stop supporting their terrorist proxies around the world. I know people think, the proxies, how many they got? Well, they got Hezbollah, right? Oh, they've got a lot more than that. Oh, Hezbollah and Hamas, right? Oh, they got a lot more than that too. They have dozens and dozens of them from various sizes and capabilities. So you look at those 3 things. Was one of our clearly stated objectives regime change? No, but it was certainly alluded to, and it was absolutely implied. This wasn't an incorrect inference. It was absolutely implied, and we haven't reached that. That regime is doggone resilient. I mean, how many more generals and presidents do we have to kill? Well, not president, but we just killed Larijani. We just killed their a general who ran their navy. So they're looking at that, but these guys are dug in like a tick on a red bone. And I'm talking about in LA, Lower Alabama. That thing is dug deep in there. And it's going to take a while longer yet. And we don't know how this one is going to end yet. Yeah. You know, you can prognosticate all you want, but right now there are too many fluid factors involved for anyone to say. And if they can say, I absolutely guarantee it's going to end this way. Well, you know what? Even a blind squirrel finds an acorn once in a while, and if you make enough estimates, one of them is bound to come true. Yeah. And there we go back to the key of intelligence assessments. Did we expect the Iranians to be able to launch at twice the range our intel assessments said they had a ballistic missile at Diego Garcia. Now, Diego Garcia is called the Footprint of Freedom. It is south of India. It's in the middle of the Indian Ocean, 4,000 some odd kilometers away from Iran. And they launched 2 missiles. All right. Now, what were those missiles? Well, there are 2 schools of thought that I've seen so far. One is they modified one of their SLVs, their space launch vehicles. They have the ability to, well, did have the ability to put satellites in space. They put some up there. Okay. Did they modify one of those and manage to get it off the ground toward Diego Garcia? Modifying meaning with a warhead instead of a satellite. Okay. Or did they modify another type of missile with a smaller warhead than it would normally carry, thus reducing your weight of your vehicle, and thus increasing your range? We're trying to figure that out. And maybe there are some people much smarter and with higher clearances than me that are going, yeah, we've got it figured out, and we know. And maybe someday we'll learn more about it, and maybe we won't.
So how significant did that change? If that wasn't in the plan and intelligence has said that missile didn't exist, now we realize it did exist. It kind of makes the excursion into Iran a little bit more necessary, because if they have that capability, they could have wreaked more havoc on less European capitals than what we anticipated. So do the war planners here go, oh, crap, look at that missile. We got to rethink how did that change where we're going in this thing, knowing that they have that capability?
It had a minor alteration. It didn't change our so-called war plan, but it made us think about, okay, that's interesting that they have that. What are our defensive capabilities if they do get it off the ground? And perhaps from one point of view, more importantly, how do we interdict when it gets wheeled out into the open and is fired? And is it fired from a mobile platform, or is it fired from a static platform? Mobile platforms can be a little bit more difficult, to find and to hit. But if they're 500 feet underground in a tunnel and they're on rails, and they can quickly bring it out, and remember, you don't just, hey, okay, it's outside, fire now. No, it doesn't work that way. This is This is difficult science. Ask a rocket scientist how hard this stuff is. It is tough. Ask Elon Musk. It is tough, and it takes a while to get the weapon into position to launch the weapon, and then what do we have that can intercept it in between? Yeah. It's something that Europe is thinking about a little more now, because it's theoretically now, maybe it's not theoretically. Yeah. I mean, one blew up in space that they fired at us, and the other one was allegedly shot down by one of our platforms. Yeah. But it gets the Europeans to thinking a little bit more.
Yeah. Let's talk about Karg Island. That was in the news a couple of weeks ago, started being talked about. You talked about Marine Expeditionary Forces coming in the area. Now you tell me there's 2 forces headed that way. President Trump has given a 5-day reprieve, a kind of a stop this within 5 days, or you're going to pay the price. What's this 5-day window that expires very soon? And is Karg Island, I guess, in the crosshairs here?
When you're negotiating, so-called negotiating with a tough negotiator, such as the regime is, and Donald Trump is a very tough negotiator as well, you want to keep the other guy on his heels. You don't want him leaning forward on the balls of his feet while cocking his right and left hands. You don't want to do that. And I read in the media, Trump's all over the map on this. Because of Trump derangement syndrome, some people are unable or unwilling to understand negotiation strategy. This may very well be his strategy. Say a lot of different things. Oh, we're almost there. We have this, they're really talking to us. They want this, that, and the other thing. But you know what? If they don't, I'll pound you into the ground like Lucy on her brother after he threw a snowball at her. I mean, it's going to get ugly real fast. And so they have to think about these things. If they wanted to be martyrs, if the leadership wanted to be martyrs, they'd already be martyrs. This is why they're hiding in holes in the ground. So, and Trump understands this, and he's got some smart people advising them. But the 5-day window, that is a tactic. Will he pull the trigger on these power plants? Maybe. Israel did on one, and they said that they did it without our acquiescence. And they said, okay, President Trump has asked us to stand down on hitting power plants, and we have agreed to do so temporarily. Okay, so we have to look at that. Will he pull the trigger on their power plants? Maybe, maybe not. We have to keep in mind that there are things happening, a great many things happening, that even people like me don't know about, and honest to God, don't want to know about. I don't want the information. I don't seek the information. All of my information that I have is OSINT, open source intelligence.
Wow. You mentioned the expeditionary force that was coming into the area last week, and are they still en route? Have they arrived? What does their arrival mean or signal that could be possibility in the arsenal here?
We have 2 MEUs. We know one for sure is inbound. The other one we believe very strongly is inbound for the AO. AO is the area of operations in and around the Persian Gulf. Okay, big circle to draw around that now because we're fighting hybrid JADO warfare. Okay, 31st MEU out of Okinawa is 31st MEU is Marine Expeditionary Unit. There are 3 elements in there. There's the ground combat element, the air combat element, and the logistics combat element. Or 22 to 2,500 Marines in that, and they travel with what's called an ARG, an amphibious ready group. Those are the warships that go with the primary MEU platform. Okay? And so they're coming from that direction. Then the 11th MEU left approximately 3 weeks early on a scheduled deployment. They came out of the West Coast. Okay, so now they have to traverse the Pacific and Indian Oceans if they go to the AO, and they may very well. And now we're hearing that the Rapid Deployment Force element of the 82nd Airborne Division out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina, is also preparing to deploy. These are options. That's what the president. A smart man has a lot of different arrows in his quiver. You don't carry one arrow or 3 arrows, and they're all exactly the same type of arrow. You want options for situations, and situations develop very, very rapidly in a situation like this, especially joint all-domain operations that are now, I've been from day one, hybrid in nature. They're asymmetric, they're irregular, and this is a world that can be very, very challenging. So you want as many options as you can. Could we have peace in the next 2 to 3 weeks that it's going to take these MEUs to get there? We could. And the president can turn them around with one sentence. Hey, Pete, turn those guys around. Oh, done, Mr. President. Yeah. And they go somewhere else and do training or whatever they happen to do. Or they can remain what's called mod lock, which is modified location. And that means that you stay in an area and you cut circles in an ocean with your vessels, and you're waiting to see how other things develop, and if you get the call to go do something. The last time I did mod lock was 1980 off the coast of Iran, in the spring of Iran, and I had a recon team back then with what was then called the 31st MAU, the forerunner of the MEU, the Marine Amphibious Unit, as compared to the modern version, which is the Marine Expeditionary Unit. And we were there. I had a team in 3rd Platoon, Alpha Company, 3rd Recon out of Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii. And so, you have different types and levels of combat power that go with these MEUs and with this organization within the 82nd Airborne. And we have a lot more assets available. The president wants options. He is wise to have the option available.
The word ground troops horrifies a lot of folks. Some people, you mentioned earlier, there's probably people on the ground running a few drones here and there. Without the revolution rising up and there's some small factions of the old regime still launching missiles, is there going to be a way to do this just with air superiority, or does the president think maybe more than he started with, that ground troops are going to be necessary, at least on Karg Island? Give me your thoughts about the old boots on the ground, RP.
Here's the thing. What do you mean by, first, you have to develop a metric and a description. What are boots on the ground? Does that include special operations forces? Most people conceive of boots on the ground as mainframe, conventional forces, and mass, like we saw so much of in Afghanistan and in Iraq, like we saw a great many in the Gulf War as well. Okay, that's how most people conceive of. Okay, those are boots on the ground. Other people look at it a different way. You put one special operations team on the ground, and they're not wearing Crocs. You've got boots on the ground. So it depends on how you want to look at it. It really does make a difference. Now you look at something like Karg Island. About 90%, somewhere between 80 upwards of 90% of Iran's oil comes out of their terminal on Karg Island. Okay, is that the mainland? No, it's not. So, when I said no, no boots on the ground, I meant on the mainland. See how politics comes into play here as well. It's funny how the military is a tool of politicians. We serve at the pleasure of the president. And anyone who can't grasp that should read a history book. That's how it goes. Democrat and Republican presidents, okay, have all used them. Jimmy Carter, Bubba, Barry, the whole crew, smoking, and I don't mean that in a boxing term, Joe. I don't know what that boy was on, but boy, talk about your brain housing group going south fast. Woo! Dude, what's wrong with you? But so you have to phrase it or put it in that context. Can a single MEU possibly handle Karg Island, meaning occupy it, defeat the enemy as there and occupy it? Possibly, yeah, maybe. Do you want more than one there? Of course you do.
Yeah.
Yes. And this is the offensive principle of mass. And how many do you really need, and have some spares? Who goes to combat with one pistol and one round? You don't. I want every
Chuck
weapon
Norris
with me while I use Chuck Norris's. He's different.
Yeah, I just want to throw that out there.
I always wanted to see him fight Bill Superfoot Wallace. Maybe he did fight him. Like, I remember Bill Wallace. Oh my God, he hit that man in the head. But twice. A famous general once said in the Civil War, "It's the firstest with the mostest."
Yeah.
So you want to understand and leverage the principle of mass when you can, and you want to cause attrition to the enemy forces before you ever land. Now, yes, just days ago, did we hit Karg really hard? All the military targets. Yes, we did. Now, what do you think the enemy's doing? Rebuilding. Okay. And we're not just going to go ashore. If we have to take Karg Island, we're not just going to go ashore without attriting them again from the air and from the sea with weapons projected from ships. We're going to hit them very, very hard. When we went into Iwo Jima and Guadalcanal and Tarawa, we pounded those places for just days and weeks and months on end before we ever put troops ashore. It's what you do. It was still very costly. Could we lose people? Well, welcome to the nature of war. But we have some rather talented people in the military, from privates and PFCs up through 4 stars. And they're not stupid, but they also understand that, in war, young men die. That's rule number 1. And number 2 is you can't change rule number 1.
I'm reading the screen here. Kesh Island is more strategic. What I've heard of Karg Island. What is this island?
Karg is up the Gulf. Karg is well into the Gulf. It's way up there. Keshem is right down there where all the action is regarding all the commercial ships. There are about 800 right now that are anchored up or circling in the area, waiting to either pay $2 million. That's the fee, the uppermost fee right now, allegedly being charged by the Iranian government for safe passage through the strait. But you can bet that Keshem is on a target list. What does that mean? Okay, targeted with what? With whom? And when? And how long would it take to achieve your objective there? First, state your objective, make sure it is an attainable objective, or at least have a real good belief that it's attainable, and never rely on confirmation bias. The bane of intelligence assessments in the military is, I mean, there are several banes, but the big one, in my view, is confirmation bias. We've seen this throughout history. Everyone agrees it's groupthink. Yep, I believe that we're going to go in there in 1 week and we're going to have a brand new government in Iran. Anyone who thought or said that is stupid.
Yeah. Let me ask you, what are the tea leaves we're reading? You see the polls, people are going, we don't want this never-ending war. We're only a few weeks in, but we've been tainted after Afghanistan and Iraq. The president, I know he has to watch the polls. He's thinking midterms. He's got to do what's right. What if you go up to 35,000 feet outside of the world of just day-to-day strategy, how would you see this kind of wrapping up? The president keeps saying we're close to being done. Any guess at 35,000 feet what he's looking at and what we should be looking at?
He's looking at strategic intelligence, not tactical. Or there are three levels: tactical, operational, and strategic. Strategic is at the presidential and DoD or DOW level as far as the overall picture of what you want to have done. Operational is below that, and it's how you're conducting the operation at the unit at larger unit levels. And how it fits into JDO, Joint All Domain Operation. Then you have the tactical, which is the guys on the ground. How are they actually doing that? If they have to kick in a door, what happens? That's tactics. And there's many other types of tactics as well. That's just one example. At the lowermost end, where Private Smuckatelli of our 1st Battalion, 3rd Marines is going to go through that door with his M4, and he's going to kill everyone he sees. Okay, so there's those three levels. The president has to think at the strategic level. And part of that strategic level, when it comes to war fighting, is what's going to happen in November. We have a midterm election. Yeah, he's thinking about that. He's looking far downrange. And when you look at America has become a very impatient country. We're not the country we were in World War II. We have difficulty as a nation looking downrange over the horizon. And the president knows this. If we're still fighting this thing in a month, every week that we are there, longer and longer, regardless of ground troops or not, in a manner of speaking, places the November elections more and more at risk. Welcome to the job of commander-in-chief and president.
Yeah.
What an awful job. How'd you like to have to balance those two things? And then you're thinking about the individuals, the people who die or are wounded, our guys and gals.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I'm thinking of that George W. Bush moment where he landed that little plane and the banner "Mission Accomplished," and that was kind of haunted him.
Context.
Yeah, but it was also kind of bit on the butt because the mission wasn't accomplished. We were there for another decade or so. At which point do you think the president can and or will say, a couple of questions here, mission accomplished? At which you've mentioned the 3 strategic goals we had. Are we close to that mission accomplished moment? And if so, will America tolerate if we don't feel that we don't want to be there, but we don't want to see this Iranian junk pop up again? So it's how far do you go? How long do you stay?
In my view, he can't legitimately say mission accomplished if there are any ballistic missiles or drones raining down upon Muslim nations, what are called the Gulf states, which they are still doing today, every day, and every night. So that's a key factor right there. And he has to truly believe and have the intelligence to support that belief that insofar as the nuclear weapons program, remember, this was objective number 1, very clearly stated by the administration, that nuclear weapons program is over. Now, what's over? Over for the next 5 years, 10 years, or over forever? Over forever means that regime leaves.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
And if that regime stays, you still have the uranium there. We just don't know where that's at either. That's
Where's
another
the
problem.
460 kilograms of missing highly enriched uranium, HEU, enriched, the IAEA believes at the 60% level.
Yeah.
Now, the IAEA thinks that most, and some of them believe all, is buried under Isfahan. Then there are other assessments that might not be there at all, or a lot of it might be somewhere else, or some percentage of it might be somewhere else. That stuff, if you're going to move it correctly, it has to be moved in what's called a Type B cask. And there are different designs, but one is more or less cylindrical, and this thing prevents heavy radiation leakage. And there's 460 kilograms of this stuff that's enriched at the 60% level. You see all the time, it has to be enriched at 90% to be weapons grade. That is 100% false, and it's one of the biggest fraudulent statements and beliefs online and on various news programs. 60% is weapons grade. Here's the catch. You need a lot more material.
Yeah.
I mean, a whole lot more to make it a viable weapon if you're only enriched at 60%. Yeah, so that anytime I see that, no, it has to be 90%. No, and plus 60% can be used very effectively if conditions are right to make a dirty bomb, and we're worried about that.
R.P. Newman is our guest, and I've kept him overtime here. He's earning. It's the. Well, he missed early in the week, Delilah. I know I'm keeping him overtime, but he stood us up early this week, so he's paying the price for that. A flogging. Talking to me is a flogging, is what that is.
Oh, talk dirty to me. Hey, do you like the shirt I'm wearing now? I'm wearing this shirt in Costa Rica when we go.
I know. I see that shirt. It's very tropical.
Turtles.
Oh, those are turtles. I thought you were had Japanese writing on your shirt.
No. I bought this in Hawaii.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
I thought there was a haiku that I was supposed to be interpreting while I stared at your shirt.
Really? Now you're talking about Japanese poetry. Really?
I'm well-rounded like that, R.P. Newman. Well-rounded. All right, R.P. Newman, retired ground combat veteran, terrorism and homeland security consultant. And, sir, you've got a book coming out. You literally are writing and have written and are continuing to write the book on Iran. I mean, you can't say that about everybody.
Yep. Hopefully I'll later this year. I've had to, it would have been done by now had we not gone to war. So I had to modify one chapter and add a chapter. So it's I already have a publisher, and it's the main title is Iran's War of Annihilation. It covers 1979 to 2026, and it's I'm really looking forward to it. About 85,000 words, 10 chapters, pictures. It's great.
I said it's a flogging to talk to me. Roger pops up on the screen. He says, "In the Marines, that's a spanking."
Yes. Yes, and of course we know Roger. He's a demented individual, and this September I'll be up at his place teaching some wounded and otherwise disabled veterans how to fly fish. But in a spanking, that sometimes it comes with this pejorative context. Why? I mean, I know people, and you know them too. You showed me pictures of people like, "Oh, thank you, sir. May I have another?" Whoa!
I didn't show him any pictures. I showed no pictures. I want you to know I don't have that stuff.
It was a video. Okay.
Don't do that. It's always a pleasure, R.P. Newman. Your fan club has been chatting about you. How
That's
great.
not my fault.
Loa's like, I could listen to him all day long. I just want to hear him speak, like read her a bedtime story. Stacy, who you loaned money a long time ago, she said she's glad you're on. She needs to borrow another couple of bucks probably. So go back, watch it, and you can see all the things pop up on the screen. Of we love R.P. Newman. Yeah, whatever. R.P. Newman.
It's amazing what $5 will get you these days. It's like, wow, you come cheap.
Yeah, $4 will get you a spanking. That's a different spanking. R.P. Newman, folks want to read any of your books. You've got other books, some about fishing, some about other things. But the one I ran, just go to Amazon and type in R.P. Newman. Is that correct?
Or type in many of my books are written. I used to do a lot of outdoor books, lots of fly fishing and hunting and survival books and stuff like that under Bob Newman. And you just type that in, you'll see them pop up.
If you want your spanking, your producer, I gave you the cigar. If you get a spanking for this, producer Chad says he's in. He's ready to go.
Oh, I thought you were referring to Stacy. She just popped up, and then you started talking about spanking. I'm like, what? Hey, Stacy. Well, don't be spanking Jimmy.
Now, not me.
Jeez.
I'm not into that. But you're a Marine, and producer Chad was in the Air Force, and Roger was in the Navy. So I'm thinking it's like the village people here. And some of you are into spankings.
You know, people who pay attention to Roger are scared of him. You know, he's been places and done things that would make a pirate swoon.
Yeah.
You know, like, you were where? You did what?
Yeah.
Well, did they have it coming? No. Sometimes just does it because
Let's just say he's given a few spankings out. That's what we're saying.
Yes.
RP Newman, it's a pleasure, sir. Thanks for the extra time, sir. I won't hold you as long next time, but I'm not prepaying the cigar next time either. I'm not prepaying the cigar at all. You're gonna have to earn it. I don't know how long he thought he was coming on the show, but he's gonna hate me now. He's on the show for like a half hour. I'm just trying to give you information, my friends, and he just talks and I just listen. That's all I do. All right. He's probably on the show longer than he anticipated. Maybe I'll buy him another cigar. He got a Padron 4000 for that. Yeah, he put one on my tab the other day. He said, Jimmy's coming in. He'll pay for this thing. And that happened. I did that. All right. Good to have all of you here on the program. Lakey is my name. Want to remind you about Sherry Cree. Homeswithsherry.com is her website. Sherry's one of our great friends of the show. Been with us since the very beginning, and I keep talking about it. Real estate. It's not just location, but it's who's on the sign. Who's developing your strategy? Do you have a strategy? Do you think it's just going to put a sign in the yard? What if you could kind of take a look back, have an expert look at it, and make more money on the sale, or maybe the listing of your home, or with something creative, or maybe you take a look back and talk to Sherry, and she says, you wait a little bit of time. This is going to play out. It's a strategy. It's not just there's more to it than just a sign, a business card, and a tent down to the local food fair or farmer's market and say, oh, that's the realtor that I want to go to. You want somebody that's actively in the market. Again, 70% of realtors across America didn't do any transactions last year, which means maybe they suck and maybe they're just out of practice. I don't know the reason. But guess what? You need somebody that's actually going to be out there and understand the trends of the market. You're the I-25 corridor in Colorado. If you've been to Colorado, you come up the I-25, you're coming up to the Texas or the New Mexico, you hit the Colorado Springs, then you hit the Denver metro area. You got Denver metro. Draw a circle around that. Head on up to northern Colorado as well. If you're looking at Weld County, the land of the free, the home of the brave, and get out of these communist counties in Colorado, Sherry can help you there. Maybe you're in Thornton. She has a lot of expertise. She's won awards in the area of Thornton, which is that I-25 corridor. Don't hesitate. Fort Collins, Greeley, if you're in Longmont, if you're in Loveland, don't hesitate. Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com. It's more than just a sign of the yard. It's a conversation with Sherry. Put the strategy together and the best strategy possible so that you get top dollar. And again, she believes, if you look at it right, that your real estate transaction, buy, sell, doesn't matter. It can create generational wealth for you if you play it right. Don't leave money on the table, my friends. Homeswithsherry.com. I know that Aunt Susie out there has a real estate card and a license, and I know that your neighbor does this, and it doesn't matter who's going to be best for you, because this is, again, a play for generational wealth in your family. Don't forget, at the end of the day, when the transactions are all done, the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, and the checks have been written, Sherry's going to take a portion of her proceeds, donate to the charity of your choice. And by the way, if you are a veteran, if you have served your country or are serving your country, she has special programs that just really loves to serve you. If you're a person like myself, and many of you have aging parents, and you're trying to kind of figure out their real estate needs, homeswithsherry.com. Upsize, downsize, expand, whatever you want to do. Homeswithsherry.com, the I-25 corridor in the Colorado. And if you're outside of that I-25 corridor, listen, she's got a referral service that's absolutely free, and she can connect you to someone like-minded and like-skilled. Homeswithsherry.com. Summertime, maybe you've been wanting that place in the mountains, a second condo, townhome. Let me just say, Sherry's good at that as well. I mean, I talked to I-25 corridor, but don't hesitate. If you've been wanting a place, let's say in Winter Park, or you've been thinking you want that little villa in Aspen, whatever, she can help you. I'm telling you, call her. reach out to her, homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. All right, in just a few moments, we will have the illustrious voice of Jay Radliff, our aviation and travel expert. Yesterday, I got into a little bit of a Bible study, a little Bible study, kind of a spiritual perspective. R.P. Newman gives, of course, the military and physical perspective. Yesterday, go back and watch the show, did kind of a spiritual perspective of Persia, going back to the book of Daniel in the Old Testament and what it is in the unseen realm that's happening in that area. And somebody asked me, they said, "Are you saying this?" And I said, I listened to the explanation. I said, I left it for you to connect the dots. But let me go back and I'll connect the dots for you. Go back and watch yesterday's show, and we talked about Daniel chapter 10 in Persia. Remember the story? I told it, go back and watch it, and you're going to be out of context here. And so these ayatollahs have been controlling that region in Persia that has been controlled by what I believe is a principality, the Bible would say. And the prophet Daniel back in the Old Testament prayed and couldn't figure out why he wasn't getting his answer. It turns out that there was a battle. The prince of the power of Persia and Greece was involved in this as well. The spiritual realm was blocking his answer, and Archangel Michael had to go fight the battle. And Daniel finally got his answer after a 21-day fast. That's called the Daniel fast. People do Daniel fast, 21 days. And Daniel was just waiting, and it was because, what's going on? I've tried everything. It's because it was blocked up there in the unseen realm, the answer to his prayer. That's the book of Daniel. And we talk about Ephesians, you wrestle not against flesh and blood, but powers and principalities of the unseen realm, all that stuff. Okay, it's all good. So, got these ayatollahs that are kicking people's butts or killing people. They're bashing women's heads in, doing all sorts of dastardly deeds for women who don't cover themselves and wear the burqa. They're hanging athletes that simply wanted freedom, wrestlers. I mean, the crimes of these ayatollahs and this radical death cult that they have been a part of is it's unfathomable, and it's demonic, it's evil. And why is that? But why is that? Because you see the physical manifestation, but there's a spiritual thing. As I said, they're possessed. They are under the influence of something very, very evil to think that way. And you have to go back historically and realize that there is a principality that's referred to in Daniel chapter 10 that's there, right? So here's what I didn't connect the dots for you. Ready? Here's what I didn't connect the dots for, but I want to. When the left goes out there, again, you don't have to like the military activity, the physical activity in Iran. You don't have to like the war gaming or the strategy. Maybe you think we shouldn't have done anything there. But when Chuck Schumer goes on the Morning Joe the other day, and he cannot say that the world is better off, that the death cult, the ayatollahs, have been diminished in their military. He says, well, we can't really say that we're better off now. What is he doing? You're better off because they can't do the things that evil, demonic, spiritual thing is inspiring them to do and killing people. When Chuck Schumer can't admit that it's better off that these demons don't have weapons and aren't killing people and are diminished in their power, he has now put himself in alignment, inadvertently or advertently. He's in agreement with the prince of the power of Persia. And that's why I say these people are not just mentally off, they are spiritually off. When Chuck Schumer is so far gone as an individual, you can disagree with the strategy of doing anything in Iran, but when you cannot, as a Democrat, admit that the world is better off, that these murderous demons have been taken out of power and they wrap themselves in some god and said, I'm the Ayatollah, and they've been taken out of power, and people... they've been killing people for decades, and you can't admit that the world is better off that they're gone. You have come into alignment. You've come into agreement with a spiritual force that I think you got to be very careful. And let me just say, I ain't the judgment guy, but I tell you, I wouldn't want to be next to Chucky on no Judgment Day. When you hate Donald Trump so much that you're willing to not disagree on military strategy, you're even willing to say the world is not better off, and maybe the women should still have their burqas on, and maybe the men should be killed. You're not willing to say that the world is immediately better off. Even Joe Scarborough's like, you're an idiot, Chuck Schumer. Listen, that's how far gone. And I say it, I didn't connect the dots for you yesterday. When the Democrat Party's like, no kings, we hate Donald Trump. How dare you take out the Ayatollah and Maduro? Oh my God, you are in alignment with something so evil that I don't know how you got there, but I pray to God that one day you come back from that path you're on, because it is a path that leads to destruction, not just for people here on this planet, but I think eternal. That's not, again, I'm not the judge. I'm not here saying, but yes, that's what we were talking about yesterday. When these people can't admit that the prince of the power of Persia, this principality that goes back for centuries, is in control, and he's very happy that the Ayatollahs have been in charge there. This was the same principality that wanted even though King Cyrus had released him from captivity, that principality kept them in captivity. That's what Daniel was praying about. When you can't admit that it's better, that there's no longer a threat to the Jews or no longer a threat to women, and you can't admit that because you so hate Donald Trump, you have Chuck Schumer come into alignment with a demonic spiritual power that I don't think you realize what you're messing with. And it goes back centuries. And unfortunately, Chuck Schumer's just another pawn in the game of the prince of the power of Persia. That was there you get it. I'm tying the knot. If you again don't think it shouldn't be there, that's fine. But we are there, and the world's better off that these jackasses are no longer able to, the way they were, harm people. And if you can't say that it's better that they can't, then you're in alignment with the power that I can't even imagine what's in your head or your heart when you're like these people. But again, they're so deranged by Donald Trump that they just can't deal with it. All right, a couple of stories I want to get to. We'll wait the arrival of Jay Ratliff. He's coming up here momentarily on the show. Jay Ratliff, our aviation travel expert, got some great topics with him coming up on the program. And let me also give you a story. Did you know there's a member of Congress about to have their butt kicked out? An expulsion could be coming. Is a member of Congress about to get the boot? You say, who's about to get the boot, Brother Jimmy? Well, I'm glad you asked me about that, because I'm going to now tell you about who's going to get the boot. Her name is Representative Sheila Cherfilis McCormick. She's very disappointed that a bipartisan committee is going to move forward with her expulsion hearing. An embattled lawmaker facing 5 decades in prison is going to face the congressional spotlight today during an ethics trial that could lead to her expulsion. Again, her name is Representative Sheila Cherfilis McCormick, hyphenated Cherfilis McCormick, a Democrat from Florida, expected to testify before the House Ethics Committee in a rare public hearing today. The case is separate from a spalling federal indictment that accuses Cherfilis McCormick of stealing more than $5 million in disaster relief to funds to finance her inaugural congressional run in 2021. She used more than $5 million, according to the allegation, in disaster relief funds, not just finance her inaugural congressional run, but also to purchase luxury items, including a large diamond ring. The Florida Democrat is also alleged to have participated in a straw donor scheme, conspired to file a false federal tax return. Cherfilis McCormick has repeatedly sought to delay today's hearing, citing the ongoing federal criminal case and losing her legal representation earlier in March. It's not clear whether the Florida Democrat will be represented by attorney at the hearing today, but Cherfilis McCormick said in a statement that she sent this morning or last night to Fox News that she is deeply disappointed that the bipartisan committee is choosing to proceed with a trial alleging a violation of her due process rights. So keep a sharp eye. She could be expelled depending on what this ethics commission that's bipartisan finds against her today. And Representative Sheila Cherfilis McCormick of Florida it's going to be a public hearing this afternoon in Washington, D.C., and we'll keep an eye on that. Ladies and gentlemen, on the green room stage, or from the green room, we pop him on the stage. It's our aviation and travel guru. His name is Mr. Jay Ratliff, and what a fantastic, smart fellow he is, and we felt dumber because he was not able to join us last week, and so today we're going to get a double portion of his genius when it comes to aviation and travel. How'd you like that setup, Jay Ratliff?
I'm thinking I need to record that and just have it on a loop. So all those days people are yelling at me, I've got something to fall back on and reflect on. But no, I appreciate it as always. And look, anytime I'm not here, I miss being with you.
Well, I appreciate you being here. The video's out there, the audio's out there. This horrific, awful crash at LaGuardia this week. Plane coming in for a landing, fire trucks heading across the runway. Everybody thinks everybody's in the clear. Everybody's given the okay. And boom, a horrific crash. Amazingly, only a couple of people were killed in that. What's the latest on this LaGuardia crash fire truck versus Air Canada?
Well, the National Transportation Safety Board's doing their normal investigation. As I've said for years, they are the all-star team. They are the men and women that will find out exactly what happened. And even though that right now there's this tendency to kind of lay all of this at the feet of the air traffic controller, we may find that there's contributing causes to a lot of different things that contributed to this. What we do know is the fire truck was responding to another aircraft. It was United Airlines flight that had arrived there at the airport, and they were needing to get to a gate because they had a medical emergency on board with one of their crew members that was falling ill due to some odors in the cabin, and there were no gates open. So the air traffic controller is coordinating with the United Airlines flight that's waiting for assistance away from the gates. The fire truck that is heading in that direction to render aid while also navigating or managing the flow of traffic in and out of LaGuardia, which of course only has the 2 runways. And the air traffic controller gave permission both for the aircraft to land as well as the fire truck to cross, and tried at the last moment, as we've heard the audio, to get the aircraft to stop. And again, the audio, cockpit voice recorder, flight data recorders have been retrieved, the 2 black boxes. The NTSB will look at those. But, one of the things that strikes me is the aircraft was coming in, we had low ceilings, I think about 800, 900 feet. So as the aircraft came down to land and they were rotating down, putting the front landing gear down, it was the first officer who was at the controls. Shortly after they rotated down, they spotted a fire truck that was a third of the way down the runway moving, and it was obvious they had a situation. The captain immediately assumed control of the aircraft, saying, and typically it's my aircraft, which is the term that's used in the cockpit. First officer turns everything over to the more experienced pilot. But look, they were laying on the brakes. They were trying to stop. The engines were inversed. The spoilers were up. But you had a wet pavement that impeded the braking action, and they simply didn't have enough time to stop. One thing that I do know is if they had tried to veer that aircraft off the runway, they would have exposed the wings to being impacted by that fire truck. The wings contain the fuel. Had that truck, that steel truck, hit that aluminum wing of that aircraft, fuel would have gone everywhere. There would have been a fire, perhaps an explosion. We would have had many, many more injuries and fatalities than what we did right now. And we may find that the crew did an incredible job of keeping that aircraft where it needed to be to try to reduce the likelihood of any more serious injuries, other than obviously what happened.
Well, talk about the air traffic controller. Who is it that gave the okay? How did that happen? Is that one person that has eyes on that runway? Are there 2 people signing off on this? Was it one person saying land the plane? Was it another one saying go with the fire trucks? How did this mistake happen? And I heard people say, man, somebody's going to get charged with a crime for giving the okay. Is that possible?
It's possible. It's not likely, but we'll see what happens. You have an air traffic controller that is talking to the pilots that are coming in for landing, clearing them for landing. That's typically by an approach control air traffic controller. But if you're talking with the aircraft, if it's the United flight that you're rendering aid to, or the arrival Air Canada Jazz Airways flight, you talk to them on one frequency, and then when you are talking to the ground equipment, you switch to another frequency and talk to them on another one. So you don't really have any of the overlap where the fire truck hears that there's an aircraft cleared to land, nor do you have the pilots hearing that there's a fire truck that's been cleared to cross the runway. Had any of that been going on, perhaps something would have been picked up somewhere where the fire truck could have said, wait a minute, we've got an aircraft that's coming in, or the pilots could have came down, saw what was there, and executed a go around to make sure that they weren't on the runway at the same time. The problem is they didn't have that. Now, some pilots I've talked to said, Jay, that's just too much chatter. That's the last thing I want to hear coming into land at an airport, especially LaGuardia, which is not the easiest airport in the world to land in. And the other thing that you'll hear the discussion on is that the fire truck did not have a transponder. At some airports, I think 30, 35 of them here in the country, we've got the technology that we can put transponders, just like we have on an aircraft, on each piece of ground equipment that would help the air traffic controllers to spot where they're at and to perhaps have a better overlay on their computers with regards to where everything is coming in. That might have been something that could have prevented this situation. We don't know. I do know that that's one of the hundreds and hundreds of things that the National Transportation Safety Board is going to be looking at. And as always, when the report is finalized 8 to 12 months down the road, they will give the Federal Aviation Administration their final report, and they will also give a list of recommendations on things that they've learned from this that we can use to make commercial aviation safer. And that's the goal. That's the best way to honor the lives of the 2 pilots that we lost, is to find out what happened and do everything humanly possible to try to prevent anything like this from ever happening again.
Lines of TSA have been crazy and worse in some airports than others. Houston comes to mind, Atlanta. Denver actually has not been that bad, but not
doing great. Yeah.
Yeah, but what I think this is funny. The ICE agents that we've been told are all mean and bad, they've showed up at the airport. They're handing out bottles of water. They're standing in line when you have to go to the toilet break. They'll hold your place in line. TSA lines, are they coming down because of the ICE agents?
They are. And, I heard from a lot of my Democratic friends, including my sister, who is more worried about Donald Trump than anything else in her life, I think. And she said, Jay, are these these ICE people even qualified to be there? And I responded to her, as I have others, saying they are highly trained government employees on law enforcement. I like having them around, but they can be used where other agents are being used right now to guard the exit from the security checkpoint. We have a highly qualified, well-trained TSA agent who's sitting on a chair behind a desk, making sure nobody comes through. Let's put them there. You've got others that are directing traffic, telling individuals where to go. You can put them there. There's a lot of positions. Yeah, exactly. Just give them wands and let them go. There's a lot of positions within that security checkpoint that the ICE agents can use, and it helps to increase the flow of traffic through that checkpoint, especially when you have so many of these agents that are calling off. And I totally understand why. You go a month without a paycheck and you've got bills to pay, food to put on the table. What, show up for some future paycheck that is going to come sometime, and you're counting on people in DC to get off their butt and do something? I don't know. But when President Trump made that announcement, 2 things hit my mind. One, the Democrats were kind of loving the chaos that was ongoing, at least some of the ones I heard from, saying, see, this is what's happening. And Donald Trump, who can't, force anything, can say, look, I'll fix it. So he brings in ICE of all people, the devil, right? The Nazi squad to come in and help. The other thing I knew that was going to happen was that the Democrats were going to have a fit once they realized that when these unmasked men and women with their ICE uniforms are interacting with hundreds of thousands of people a day, passengers are going to say, wow, they're not the devil. These people are just like me. It's going to allow those individuals to become much more humanized. And that's one of the reasons quickly you saw the Democrats and a lot of people saying, let's get them out of the airports. They don't need to be there. Because they know exactly what's going to happen. They're not that stupid. They're going to understand, look, these people are getting along, having a good time. So the narrative that comes out of some of these media outlets that talk about what a vicious squad of people these are, it's not exactly going to stand up when you're dealing with these people at the airports every single day. I love this. This was a double, triple win for President Trump.
Yeah. The voice of Jay Ratliff. Jay, very quickly, I want to show this photo that you sent over to me. United Airlines has introduced, I guess, a new option for seating, and it's a sleeper row. And now you don't have that much. That's at least premium economy, because you got a lot of space there for that cot to lay down. What is this thing we're looking at?
Well, actually, it's going to be in the coach compartment of, I think, 200 of their wide-body aircraft. And they're doing what Lufthansa and Air New Zealand has done. It is a brilliant, brilliant idea. They said, when we've got an aircraft that's preparing to leave that day, and maybe only 75% of it is full, they understand it's a perishable product, airline seats are, so they're going to figure out, okay, we're going to close the door and lose revenue on all those other seats. And somebody came up with an idea at Air New Zealand or Lufthansa saying, hey, what if we opened up and gave people the opportunity to buy a row of seats so that they could sit there by themselves with their family, just their spouse and them. maybe to lay down and take a nap. What a great idea at an additional cost, of course.
Yeah.
So now they found another way to pull revenue out of us, and it's great because you're not going to pay for 3 full seats, but you're going to pay for yours and 2 others, or if it's 2 of you, pay for a third. But at the time of departure, they're going to work this out where they give you the ability where you can lay it down on a flat like couch type of thing. There's a seat belt that secures you in as you lay there. They'll give you a blanket, little pillow. If your child's there, a little stuffed animal. So United is the first U.S. carrier to offer this. And I think, again, it does 2 things. It gives customers an option, and you and I love to have options, whether we use them or not, at least they're there for us. And if you do, it's an additional cost. And, if you're on a flight, the armrests can pull up. They're going to make sure they're flush, so it's not going to be, too, uncomfortable. But yeah, United's rolling this out, and I think it's going to be very, very well received. They still have to work the bugs out as far as the exact process. Air New Zealand and Lufthansa, you do this the day of departure. You can't do it in advance. I suspect United will kind of follow that same model.
Jay Ratliff, aviation travel expert. Jay, moving about the country today, if you can get past the TSA delays, what's it like to travel, sir?
Minneapolis and Detroit, minor delays today. I think we're in good shape. And you mentioned how well you've got it at Denver, and in Cincinnati, it's the same thing where the teams are doing a great job of getting people through. And if anything, people are surprised there's not longer lines. If you're going to an airport like Florida or Houston or Atlanta, what I would do would be just grab one of the TSA supervisors on the way out and say, look, I'm scheduled to fly back on Tuesday. You know what's going on here. How much time should I allow to get back? And they may say at that time of day, 3 hours, 3.5, 2.5. They'll give you an idea and let those experts kind of give you the indication of what to do. The last thing you want to do is show up too late and be looking at one of those lines. And how great was it? The Delta Airlines, who's been very vocal, the CEO telling members of Congress, get off your whatever and let's get these people paid. They said, we're no longer going to allow the congressmen and all women and all their aides to go to the front of the line from now on. Not until this mess is resolved. And I like that. And I suspect some people will be a little more interested in getting this resolved since these paid individuals in Congress are having some of their goodies taken away.
Yeah. I wonder why any of them, their staff, their mistresses, anybody on their payroll is still getting paid right now with the TSA agents not. Yeah, and I hope, I appreciate Delta doing that. I hope other airlines will do the same. I wonder why they have the perk in the first place. Just go, if you're TSA pre-check, go get it. But, I understand the airlines have to cave to these people because of regulations, et cetera. But
you know how they look at us. They look at us as little people. Yeah. Don't expect me in Congress, the important member that I am, with my prestige, my title, my responsibility. Don't put me in line with these people. No. I want to go to the front of the line. I mean, all of this crap about how they're supposed to be there to serve us, they don't. National debt last week, ding, 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 $39 trillion. Took us 5 months to get there after 7 months the time before. We're going to hit 40 in less than 3, and nobody seems to care about it.
Telling you, it's. I hope Delta take it away permanently, and appreciate the temporary, but take it away permanently.
I would love that. Yeah,
but I told the story, and they think they're all better than us. But I realized that time that I was on that flight coming from DC to Denver, and I was on the back row of the front of the plane, and Nancy Pelosi was a seat in front of me. And when she came out of the water closet, if you will, the restroom, doing her business, I walked in and realized she does the same kind of business I do in here.
Imagine that.
She may think she's the queenie, but guess what? She has to use the airline bathroom just like I do.
Yes, she does. Probably was a little unsettled by being around all the common folk. That might have messed with their system.
Probably was. And I had a tough time lifting the seat up, knowing what had just been there. It's like, oh, golly, geez. It was a tough one. I'm probably the only guy that
I'd have found another one. I'm going to walk to the other side of the airplane. Yep.
I'm walking back to coach. I'm going to use that one there. I'm going to
out of my way. Yep.
Jay Ratliff, aviation travel expert. No weather today. We're all good. Everybody fly safely.
Yep. Just good day to fly. If you pick today, good job.
Jay Ratliff, aviation travel expert, his website, jratliff.com, jratliff.com, jratliff.com. What's the old thing? Even the Pope puts his pants on one leg at a time. If he wears pants, I guess. Popes, they wear their robe, right? They wear pants. I don't know. I've only seen the Pope in a robe. I'm guessing he's got, or is he wearing that like a kilt? I don't know. Real kilt, don't wear stuff. I'm just saying, you can think you're the queen of the universe, Nancy Pelosi. But guess what? You go do your business. Well, she's a sitter and I'm a stander, but you get the idea. She had to use that airline bathroom just like I got to. All right, ladies and the images, I just got to stop that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have you here on the show. I mentioned Sherry Cree. Indeed, I did. I also want to remind you about our charity work, Rivers Promise. Tomorrow, I'm going to do something very special for you. I'm going to talk about our casino gala that's coming up. You need to get a ticket for that. It's well worth the opportunity. It's a great fun. Live music, fantastic food. It's all for fun and games. Kind of Vegas style fun. It's going to be a great night in Broomfield. I'll give you more details of that. But tomorrow I'm going to introduce you to a couple of children that are in our sponsorship program. And I like to put a face for it. Sometimes you think you just hear my words, but I want to give you a face of the kids that you're actually helping. And I want to do that tomorrow. So I'll introduce you to a couple of our children. They've been up on we put occasionally on the Facebook page a couple of times a week. Last week, I put up a couple of children that need sponsors, and you can help that. And I'll do that tomorrow. So don't miss it. RiversPromise.org if you'd like to make a donation. RiversPromise.org. Matter of fact, when this show is over, I'm heading off to send over some more funds that are needed immediately. So I've got to do that as soon as the show's done. Let's do this. RiversPromise.org. Literally, what you give right now, it could literally be on its way to Africa in 30 minutes. If you'd like to give right now, any size gift is welcome. And that will be doing the Lord's work in Africa. Literally, it launches in about half hour as soon as I can get out of here. RiversPromise.org, make that donation and put your money to work. Feeding kids and making sure they go to school. That's what we do. RiversPromise.org, learn more about it. Make a donation today. What you give right now, the next 30 minutes, next couple of minutes, about to launch. Stolen memes, let's do it. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Today I learned that the average American drops 80 to 90 cuss words a day, which is roughly 5 cuss words an hour. Today, I learned that I'm above average at something. That's not me. I don't drop that many. Occasionally I'll say a wordy nerd. Yeah. Now, producer Chad, he's well above average. Producer Chad is well above average on the 80 to 90 cuss words a day. I'm telling you. He's not going to deny it. He's well above average, and it's a compliment. He exceeds that. He excels in that. Right around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Travelers nationwide shocked to realize that ICE agents are pretty friendly when nobody's trying to kill them with an SUV. Oh, yeah. When radical Democrat voters aren't trying to kill you, you're pretty friendly out there. Right around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. I'm singing it now. Babylon B says another massive fraud ring exposed at the D.C. old folks home. The Congress, D.C. old folks home. Yeah. Geriatric jackwagons. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. When Jimmy Carter purchased the teachers union endorsement in 1979 by establishing the Department of Education, the USA was number 1 in education. And now, 46 years later, $4.1 trillion, the USA is number 40 worldwide. We are, however, at number 1 cost per student, but number 40 in the results. Thank you, Jimmy Carter, for screwing us over, and every politician since then for allowing it to happen and fighting for the teachers union. Think it's about the kids, people? No, it's about the teachers union, not about the kids. They don't care about your kids. They care about the unions that fund the Democrat Party. That's all it's about. They don't care about your children. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Back to the Babylon Bee. Soldiers are issued Crocs so that Trump can say he didn't put boots on the ground. Yeah, that would be that. Gunny Bob referred to Crocs earlier, didn't he? R.P. Newman. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Chuck Norris didn't die. He just gave life permission to carry on without him. Got the Chuck Norris joke in there with R.P. Newman also. Round and around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. There it is, the gong has sounded the Great Wall of China. It means we have stolen all the intellectual property possible today, and for that, we have to stop because China gets very jealous if we get too good at stealing other people's work, because that's what the communist Chinese like to do as well. Promise.org. If you missed the Bible study yesterday, go back and watch yesterday's show or listen to it. Podcast, Spotify, iHeart, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, you get them all. Go download, like, subscribe us, follow us. We appreciate it. Hey, I mean this. I'll see you tomorrow morning. It's going to be the Friday edition of the show, good Lord willing. Until then, may God bless you. May God bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here.